Good evening. My name is Peter Kleinhines. I'm actually doing this on my iPhone, so hopefully this turns out alright. My computer was giving me a little trouble earlier this evening, so hopefully this actually works alright. So I'm actually doing my mock employment interview tonight, so we'll try to do the best we can here. Alright, so question number one. Describe the best boss you ever reported to. Well, the best boss I've been at my company for a little over 10 years now, and I've had many managers over the course of that time, and throughout the whole positions I've had. And the best manager I've actually had was the current one I have now. The reason why I say that he's the best one I have now is because of multiple reasons. The first one was that he actually fully engaged with the employees. He treats everybody on the same level. He doesn't talk down to anybody. He doesn't, he actually just looks at you and it's like, right in the eye and say, you know what, I'm actually here for you. He actually treats everybody with the same respect. It doesn't matter who he is, if it's a senior designer or someone just brand spanking new. He actually treats everybody on the same level. He also like helps out anybody. Like he'll try to take things out of his busy schedule, try to help each employee so they can actually get their project or whatever they need to completed. And he's fully invested in people too. It's like he'll just won't help me. He won't just help somebody else. He'll try to help everybody who actually asks him. So, and then not only that, he'll actually like he'll actually come up to people and say, I can give you an example. Like one time, like he'll come up to me all the time and say, hey Peter, do you have any issues, any questions, concerns? Like how's your job running? Like how's it actually going? If I actually am doing good, I'll just say fine, everything's all good. But if I actually need to say, hey, I'm I'm doing some I'm actually in some little trouble here. I don't know if I'm going to get all my projects done. So he said, you know what? Is there something I can do to help, or is someone I can actually pull off doing their stuff to help you out get all your stuff done? So, and then what also he does is he'll actually make it like action items, what we call action items, and it's like what they are actually are like mini projects, like so we can actually all become more efficient in our daily job, so we can actually accomplish more projects than we ever did the previous week or previous month. So, and what he actually does, he'll assign himself some projects too. It's like he won't just like, he knows how to delegate but responsibility is like, hey, you know what, we're going to give this project this person, we're going to give this project to somebody else, and Peter, hey, you can do this job, yeah, can you actually do it? It's like, so, and that's what he knows how to do. Is he knows how to delegate, but he knows, you know what, you don't want to overwhelm you, so you know what, I'm going to take this project on. And if two people need to work on something, he'll actually like, you know what, let's partner up on this. We'll work together on this. So he knows how to delegate, and so he actually makes me kind of like respect a little bit more. And makes me want to actually work a little bit harder. When he actually treats people like equals. It's like instead of talking down to them. My next one was, what is your biggest strengths? It's probably more likely than time management skills. Like I know how to time management myself, but also time manage other person. I'll actually kind of give examples of both. Like one of my things I helped time manage other people is where I actually for when I was in QA, it's like I would actually know I'm gonna put all this color standards that was actually in the QA station. Let's put it over in the press room. That way they don't have to keep on walking back and forth and stuff like that. So they can effectively time management their time. That way they don't have to spend their time going from point A to point B. That even though it might just take like, I don't know, like 2 minutes per time that they need a color standard, but you know what, if they need like uh, over the course of a year, it takes like 200 uh, jobs that require color standards. That's 400 minutes that they could actually be working on a job. So that's actually a good time management skill that just saved them 400 minutes throughout the course of the year. So it actually saved times. Also also, for myself, like I've actually saved, time like over the course of a year too. Actually, just was, with me cutting now, like before I actually cut, uh, a job that was actually 10 minutes long. Like I figured out, doing some programming stuff like that. I got that same thing from down from 10 minutes down to 8 minutes. So just my time management skills is one of my biggest strengths. I know how to, condense time, try and get more jobs more efficiently than what I did before. All right, what is my biggest weakness? Well, I used to be very horrible in public speaking. When I was in college, and I was just had a massive problem with it, and I was just terrified to even speak. Actually, so I I made a promise with myself that I was gonna start speaking better in smaller groups. So what I actually did was I took a few classes with AMA, or American Management Association, or for speaking classes, and also getting my MBA with an emphasis on corporate communication. So what I actually try to do is make my what might used to be a strength weakness into a strength. So now I kind of force myself to into more speaking roles. And in my group that we actually have is we have a daily workout. We have like 7 people that we meet with in my department. That okay, let's talk about what our daily goals are. Let's what did we do the previous day? What did we do, or what do we need to accomplish in our daily workout? So it's like each member of the group will say, what, how are we going to manage our today? That way we can have our effectively manage our time, more efficiently. So uh, I changed what was one of my biggest weaknesses into one of my biggest strengths, just by just being more confident in myself. Now I have a lot more confidence in what I'm actually speaking about. Okay, my next one. Why are you leaving your last job, or this job? To be honest, I wasn't actually considering a move. It just happened. I was just looking, and it just kind of just popped right in front of my screen. And you know what? I looked at the company, what the actual values were, and what's their job qualifications. It's like, what? It just goes intermittently what I'm actually going for. It's like it just matches up what I actually can do and bring to the company and stuff like that. And it's like, what? Now the job that you actually just described, it matches me perfectly. So I think I'm actually would be a good fit, and the whole field was just perfect actually. The next question: are you good working on a team? I believe that I am a good team player. I can actually give you a pretty good example. In my department that I'm in now, is in the CAD department. In our group we have 7 people, and we try to make it more. What we try to do is make our designs a lot more time efficient. Before I actually came into the department, we were having designers were having some issues, with being courtly, and also they were having a lot of issues, with a lot of design errors, and a lot of what we call like common knowledge stuff, where people's like one person would know a certain something, another person would know something else. They would actually have things on their each desktop or whatever, like they know a little bit, but and all the files that they actually had personally, they just had it spread everywhere on their desktop. As well as our salesmen and CSRs, when they're trying to explain to their customers, they didn't really have a big idea of what to actually do. So what? Let's try put everything like in a centralized location. That way, all of our new hires or in our department, they would actually know. It's like, hey, if I need to reference something, I would actually know where to go. Actually, it's like at one central location. It's like so we actually develop like how tos. We develop like other stuff like that way. So when you have like a step by step thing, people would actually know. It's like, hey, I know how to do that same project. What I did like a month or so ago. So we actually had a little checklist, like how many errors that the designers made, like before the project began, during the project, after the project was completed, and we kind of saw a dramatic decrease in the amount of errors that the designers were doing just because they didn't know how to reference the same material. And then what we also found was that the upper management from other departments, not just our own department, but other departments were actually looking and say, hey, we can actually look at this and say, like, we know what you guys are actually doing now. It gave a greater appreciation of what the CAD department did, because they didn't know how to convey that to the customers. Like, how are we supposed to do, like, how are we supposed to convey this to our customer? Like, how do we know what we can provide them? So it's like, here you go. This is what we can actually provide you. So here you go. So the next question: has anything irritated you about people that you actually worked with? Well, that's one thing that it's just inevitable. People are going to clash. They're going to, have button heads a little bit. It's just how you work as a team, basically. Uh, what I can actually do a specific example is, like, in my department, we actually have what I actually like to call a perfectionist. He actually can look at a specific carton and actually is like, looks like, you know what, that looks like it's about a 64th of an inch off. It's like, okay, it's like and that's just pretty amazing to me, actually, because sometimes I can actually look at something that's just a hair off. It's like, if, oh, that thing was 5 degrees, cut 5 degrees off. It's like, you know what, that's I didn't actually notice that. So he actually has a very good eye on what the customer actually would actually want. So what we actually try to do is just, if we're contemplating about something, we give it to him. It's like, you know what, let's look at this. That's basically our what do you want to call it, our backup thing. We're trying to do our own little quality checks about if we're, like, on the fence about something. You know what, let's take a look. And he kind of gives us a better understanding of what things to actually look for, and what to watch out for, and what things to avoid. So it's not just a bad thing to he could also be irritation, but in the long run, he's actually very helpful of what the expectation of the customer. Because if when the customer receives this thing, it's like, oh boy, you know what, this is actually a very good product. I want that, more of that, stuff. So it could be a really big order that we could be actually receiving from this customer. All right. Next question: what have you been your biggest achievement so far? My biggest achievements, I have a couple of them, because uh, a couple things that I'm really proud of is that, trying to make the company more efficient. Like, I stated before, like, one of the things I'm very proud of was moving the color standards. Just moving the color standards from the QA station to the press room. It actually ended up saving the company a couple grand right there. And it's like, well, okay, what else can we actually do? It's like, the other thing was just the proof, getting the proofs out at the end of the job, actually, like, for the each person, when they complete a job, they can actually put the proof, since they're already handling the proof, instead of them taking the proof out, leaving the proof in the jacket, they can actually take it out and put the jacket at their workstation. That way they don't have to bring the jacket into the QA station, which actually saves time putting them in. And it actually helps with the QA people. They don't have to actually worry about taking the proofs out, which, that in itself saved a couple grand over the course of a lot, because that's a lot of job jackets that the QA people do over the course of a year, and it just saves a whole lot of time and money. So, and then one of the other things I'm kind of really proud of was that recently, when I'm in the CAD department, I helped develop, like, what we call a Kanban cards for material. What we actually did is, like, a little 3x5 index card that we actually put in about the middle of the materials. That way, when it gets lower, gets lower, when it's the material gets less and less, it kind of gives, like, a little signal, a fail-safe thing, say, hey, you know what, you need to get more material. That way, it's less likely that this department's actually going to run out of material, because it's kind of like a fail safe. Say, hey, it's a little reminder. Say, hey, go get some more material. So I'm a little proud of those things. All right. So next question: how do you handle stress and pressure? Well, it's having stress and pressure. It's basically inevitable. It's another thing, just people are irritating you. It's just handling stress and pressure. You're going to get that all the time. It's just you just when you come in, you gotta just take it with some roll off the sleeve, basically. So one thing that I can just tell you, one thing that comes to mind right now is when I was working in CAD department, being in product design, we had like 8 jobs that we needed to cut that day. That people come in all the time. It's like, hey, I want this cut. It's like, and then we need it like today. So it's like, uh, that just puts a lot of stress on you, because you want that to get that out for them, but you don't want to mess up the quality either. So with that, we just, uh, I'm just telling the manager, say, hey, I might not be able to get this stuff done. It's like, you know what? Let's just figure out a game plan. That's how we can actually finish this. So it might just be adding more people. We'll figure out a game plan. It's like, you know what? Let's get more people over here and see. Instead of we've got two tables to actually work on, it's like, okay, you're gonna work on this project. We'll try to get everything out, and we're gonna have this other person. We're gonna split up the jobs. So you can do a couple jobs. You can do a couple jobs. We're going to get all these jobs done. So that way you don't have to worry about the quality and quantity. We're going to try to get both of them 100% on time with all the quality still intact. So we actually, as a result of just talking things out, getting a game plan, and adding another person, we actually got all that thing done, and we got everything out what we should have done. So the stress and pressure is going to be there, but you just got to have a game plan and figure it out. All right. What goals do you have? The next question is, what goals do you have for the future? Well, I always kind of look at jobs where I can actually lead into. I don't want to go to a job where it's like, you're going to stay at the same job for like 20 years. Like, that's just not me. That's not how I handle. It's like, I want to see, like, okay, if I'm going to be here this year, like in 5 years, I want to be, up here actually. So that's kind of like what I did, like when I first started at my company. It's like, I started as a shrink wrap operator. Why? Because I did that because I wanted to be in the QA department, and at that time they had no QA positions available. But I knew that being a shrink wrap operator, they actually, you could get all the same. You can learn a lot of QA stuff by being in that position, because they do a lot with the same paperwork and closing out jobs. They dealt with a lot of the same stuff as what QA person does on a regular basis. So I taught myself how to be a good operator, and by the time when a QA position did open up, my manager said, you know what, this is actually good fitting for you, because it's an easy transition. So what we're going to do, we're going to hand you this position. We're going to see what you can do. So it's like, okay, we'll figure it out. So that's where I kind of want to just with my knowledge and expertise, that kind of just streamline transition. So that's where I want to be, is just keep on like where I'm at. I want to say, how do I get to that next level? So next question: if you had to live your life over again, what's one thing you could actually change about yourself? One thing that I want to do is just get my MBA sooner and get my QA qualification sooner. I kind of waited like 10 years before I actually started doing my MBA, and it's like, you know what? If I would have started right out of college, I would have had it done a lot sooner, and I would be able to contribute to my company a lot. Or with those ideas that I get, same ideas principles that I learned from getting the MBA and those QA certifications, I could have applied to the company a lot sooner, and we would have been a lot further along, and it would have been more beneficial to me as well as the company. So that's one thing I kind of really majorly regret about that. And the last question is, are you willing to relocate and or travel? Uh, I am willing to relocate. Depends on where it is and where I am in my life. So it's like currently living in Wisconsin. I'm happy where I'm at. It's not saying where I'm depressed where I'm at, but I do have some family members in Arizona. My parents actually are snowbirds, and they actually have a winter home in Arizona. So that's a possibility. As soon as my fiance has some relatives there too, and she also has some relatives in California. So that's actually would be an easy transition for me as well as going to Arizona or California. So it all really depends on where being relocated to. So it's just that has a few questions for there. And traveling, I am very open to. I did it for my job. Where I'm at now, I've actually went to Bristol, Pennsylvania a few times to help with start up that location because we just opened that location the last few years, and they needed some help because they needed us to do a startup thing there. So I went over there to help train over there. So it's traveling is consideration. That's another thing I just need to know is more consideration about that. It's like, is this just going to be a part-time thing? Is it going to be like 10% of my thing will be travel, or is it going to be like 90% of my so I'm not going to be at home as much. So if it's going to be like 9%, I'm going to be traveling, then it's more than likely not though. But if we're just talking about a few things here and there, I am more than happy. I've done it before, and I'm more than willing to help out wherever needed. As I stated before, I am a team player, and I'm willing to help out wherever needed. So that is my interview questions. I hope you enjoyed, and hope this actually works out. All right, thanks.